And we are back with tons going on for the geeks at the nerd table, but still nonetheless, we're going to talk about Andor, season 2, episode 4, 5, and 6. Let's go. All right, guys. I'm flying solo once again, but nevertheless, let's talk about Andor. But before we do, if you got the chance to see us May 3rd at Free Comic Book Day, we are highly appreciative of everybody that came out, got to saw us, and we're highly appreciative of all the phenomenal comic book artists, writers, everyone that was there that we got to talk to and hang out with and discuss not just comic books, but TV and movie and all sorts of media of alike. So we love to see all the cosplayers that were out, that professionals that showed up for the event with Jose, and all those that actually took it upon themselves to show up in costume to the event. I had a blast. So if you don't know about Jose and Baby Gorilla Comics in Pendle, PA, check them out. He's fantastic. Of course, he's on our crew now. So we love to have him and we love the experience. If you missed out this year for Free Comic Book Day 25, look forward to it for next year for Free Comic Book Day 26. I'm sure there's gonna be, if not the same, more going on. And I'm sure we will be there to cover it. But nonetheless, I'm filming this and recording a little bit late because of everything we had going on. So today is May 4th. May the force be with all of you. And I am so glad to have you guys along with us and talk about a fantastic Star Wars show. Whether you are loving it, whether you are hating it, whether it's just another Star Wars thing, we shall discuss and find out. Uh, if you have not watched it, I know it's 3 episodes. It's long. It's like a movie that you got to watch each week. That has its benefits, it has its curses, but go watch it. Pause this video, watch it, come back, and we'll discuss what we got going on in these episodes. Now, if you agree with me, leave it in the comment. If you don't agree with me, especially leave it in the comments. Let's get a discussion going on about what's going on with this show and how we feel about it. I know for myself, I am really enjoying these 3 episode clumps, especially because we start off this next 3 with a timestamp of BBY 3. Last one was BBY 4, so we're progressing a year at a time, which has a lot going on and lets us see everything that's going on. And it progresses us to that end goal of Rogue One. It's quite interesting to see how we're getting there. And this set of 3, where the last ones were pretty action packed and a lot going on, and it seemed very fast paced, even though it was scattered all over the place. This is a little bit more spycraft. So if you like a little bit slower of a burn, which I'll be upfront and say, yeah, these 3 episodes were slower. And I've been hearing from a lot of people that it's a drag to get through them. They've found it hard to get through these 3 episodes this week. First one kind of turned you off. Not much is going on. I'd agree with you a little bit, but it's a slow burn and it's more of spycraft. So in episode 4, we have Caspian and Binks back together at the safe house. We have Senator Mon Mothma trying to work on the whole Gorman situation. Uh, Running around trying to like see whether she can do something in the Senate. We'll see if that has anything, if she gets anywhere with it. I have a sneaking suspicion that she ain't getting very far, especially after these 3 episodes. Uh, and then that's really about it. We got a little bit else of what's going on the Empire side. Not much though. You have our now really spy being sent out to Gorman. Uh, and the inspector is kind of on the back lines. So we're jumped ahead a whole year uh, and kind of thrown into that. Now, I thought this first episode was a little bit dry, a little bit slow. Didn't have a whole lot going on. You kind of question. It kind of leaves you with more questions than answers and doesn't feel, you didn't feel like what's going on. Uh, Gorman gets brought up, and Gorman gets brought up because there's this sense that something is going wrong there, but they don't know exactly what it is. They don't really like explicitly say this is the problem that they're having. It's more of like the Empire's trying to do something here. We don't really understand what, but they're trying to do something here. And the rebellion knows exactly what they're doing there. They're trying to put in an armory. And why are they trying to put an armory in Gorman? Gorman is this, it feels like backwater, but it's not because it's so isolated. But it is a clothing manufacture planet. Let's call it that. It just so happens to also have a major resource for energy production that would basically cause the entire planet to self implode if they harvested too much of it. So, interesting situation. And we're kind of steam rolling through into it. Like I said, episode 1, not much going on. Kind of sets up the play, sets up kind of this understanding where, or episode 4, I'm sorry, where episode 1 was jumping around and sending you into the action of all these different things. We're kind of straight into Gorman, and that is it. Now, episode 5, on the other hand, has a very interesting title which keeps on coming around, and that is I Have Friends Everywhere. That is kind of the spycraft phrase that they are using for the resistance or this rebellion, really. Not resistance, that's later on. We don't want to talk about that. Uh, but the rebellion, they're spies when they are out and about and uh, meeting up with other people. The question and answer is I have friends everywhere, which is kind of assigned to somebody that knows that you're part of the rebellion and you're one of the spies or people that are working in the shadows. So that gets said frequently in these 3 episodes. Episode 5, we jump to Caspian being dispatched to Gorman really to evaluate what's going on. He wasn't told he has to do anything. He was just sent there and said, "Hey, let's go check it out, evaluate the situation, evaluate the rebellion's little circuit that's there, which kind of gives you this feel that none of these elements of the rebellion are united in any way. They're loosely associated and they're loosely lumped together by players on a bigger scale. That is the senators that are in Coruscant playing the game and trying to, I don't know, I guess, fund and trying to aid the different rebellions with the tools that they have and the people that they have at hand. Like Caspian is sent in to do heists, steal something, to fly something out, to you know, uh, set up something. Which the Gormans kind of feel like this is a heist that they're pulling off, but at the same point, they're starting a rebellious act there. And Caspian is kind of thrown in and sent to figure out what exactly they expect and what exactly their end result and game here is. You have Luthen, sorry, going to visit Binks while Binks is still at the safe house, and Binks kind of has this weird situation going on where she's still having these nightmares. And clearly Caspian didn't want to leave her by herself. Caspian doesn't want to also have her do anything right now because he sees these terrible flashback horrible experiences that she's having, these nightmares that are more than nightmares, they're palpable to her. It's like nightmare, but when she wakes up out of it, she's still living in that dream. Terrible experiences, PTSD, truly, from being tortured. And Luthen, when going to meet with her, sees that she's taking a drug and she says it's helping her sleep. And he says, I've been there. I've had this problem. It gets worse when you stop. Kind of forecasts a lot of things, kind of says she needs a lot of help. And he kind of plays this card of like, let me find you somewhere better to live than this safe house. The safe house doesn't always feel the greatest. I've had to sleep here a long time ago, which in the first episode, they kind of talked like, oh, well, how many people have been here? Who was here when we were away? But they kind of like start making house there a little bit. You still have my Mothma running around trying to like do something. But at the same point, you have Luthen also being notified that a bug that he planted in Mothma's in-laws place is being very close to being found out, because one of the items that he's collected to be a part of his collection and show his status and wealth is being brought up on question of its origins and whether it is a fake or not. This is very high class, wealthy world, and you have this feel of senators and wealth and power playing this game. And you also get this feel of the spy world that maybe Luthen's thing isn't being questioned, but if you're questioning one thing, you're questioning the entire collection now. So that bug that they planted in an artifact now is going to have a problem. They got to get it out. That's leading us right into the next episode, which before at the end of this episode, you got Cassian come back and Luthen asks him, "What's your evaluation?" And after the whole song and dance and pony show that he put on over with the Gormans, he's come back to evaluate and said, "We should cut ties. They're going to screw this up. They're too eager. They're not planning this out. They don't have the people and the things that they need to do it." And Luthen at this point is getting a little shaky. I think he feels the pressure coming in around him. I think he feels the ISB coming closer to finding them. Now, the ISB has been hunting down all of these rebel elements. They're trying to find and squash them. And they're also trying to set up Gorman. They are absolutely, they have a spy on the inside that's linking up with the Gormans and feeding them the information that they want. Now we're going to see how that plays out. We're going to see how the interesting part is you have both the Empire and the Gormans trying to do the same thing, which is start a rebellion within Gorman and the greater universe, but for two different reasons. Gormans want to get rid of the Empire. The Emperor wants a reason for them to legally go in and wipe out the Gormans so that they can take care of the planet and take all the resources, but also at the same point, create a situation that allows the ISB and the Empire to take further, harder, drastic actions. Uh, this kind of mirrors real world where you've seen it in the past. These not so good dictators go in and they subsidize people to kind of create a resistance or rebellion in order for them to crack down on it and use the force that they have. Use the this sign of a rebellion in order to take out whoever and whatever they want to get what they want. So you have this flip side going on between the Empire and the rebellion, especially the rebellion on Gorman. And you also get that sense that Cassin is still unsure of what he's doing. Luthen kind of yells at him like, "You're either in or you're out. I need the man that's going to do whatever it takes, not the man that's worried about Binks and worrying about everything else except for starting a rebellion." He wants the man behind everything, the man that's willing to do the dirty job, the dirty work in order to get it done. So Caspian passes on the Gorman mission, says don't do it. Then later on in episode 6, finds out that Luthen visited Binks. And that rubs him the wrong way. Now, Luthen is caught up in his own spy hunt that he is being tracked down and figured out. And he doesn't exactly know what the level is yet. I have a sneaky suspicion that this has nothing to do with ISB, but he's just paranoid. I mean, you're running a spy network. You're going to be paranoid. you're gonna be looking around and any tiny little thing, any little information you get is gonna drive you nuts. He says to his second hand at one point, "Oh, let's just put a bug in our enemy's house. That's gonna work out. Why do we do this? Why do we put these bugs out everywhere? A bug that can be tracked by us." And they come to the conclusion, we gotta get rid of this. Luckily for them, there's a party and they can get themselves in because they play the part of being this dealer of artifacts and part of the high class world, and also allow them to get away with sneaking in there and then trying to remove the item, trying to remove that bug. Uh, Flip side, you have Caspian talking to Binks, and Binks is like, yeah, he came and visited me. So he now has to go and deal with that problem. All while you have everything going on with Gorman. You have ISB getting further involved into the rebellion, feeding them information, tracking the Gorman's progress on the heist of the weapons. And who do you have show up? But mom, I'm gonna stumble over her name every time I try to say it. Mama's cousin shows up and her girlfriend. And now they have a interesting experience of trying to lead this ragtag bunch of rebels that don't know what they're doing and are probably going to be dangerous. And they recognize it. And they definitely recognize it because in their rundown of the plans is like, hey, we're only doing this if we do it our way. And we're the only ones that are going to have guns. Everyone else will not have a blaster. And if you have a blaster, extra blasters laying around, somebody is going to get shot. Kind of forecast what was about to happen at the end of this episode. Like, you can't slip that in there without anybody going, somebody's going to die. Something's going to go wrong. So you have ISB tracking the entire events, uh, following whether it goes down or whatnot, which they're just waiting to pull the silent alarm and have the Imperials show up and try to track them down, but take a really long time and make a lot of noise. They basically let them steal the weapons. They're setting it all up. Yeah, you have this whole scenario go down. You have them get the clean hit on the transport, take out the guys that are in it, but you have random citizens coming up and needing to get ushered away, needing to be, things to be kind of squashed down, taken care of real fast. People are wandering off. People aren't where they're supposed to be. They're getting out of place, getting pushed, getting flustered. They hear noises that isn't necessarily the Empire yet, but they're just panicky. And the young kid ends up pulling out a blaster and shooting the wrong person, shooting one of their own. I jumping to the end of the episode and seeing the death and then the reaction of the death and seeing Mamatma's cousin both grieving but being a general at the same time and realizing I'm creating a rebellion here and I need not to scold this kid, but I need to make this kid into the hardened soldier that I need him to be. And that's by telling him you need to live up to what you just eradicated, live up to the death you took. And by doing that, you are going to be able to make up for it. But you're gonna have to work your entire life to make up for this. It was kind of a very tortured scene, you know? You see the pain that she has, but at the same point, she's teaching this kid what it means to be a rebel and what it's going to mean and what they're gonna have to do. It's not gonna be something that, you can just walk through and it's gonna be easy. And taking a life is never easy. And they do an excellent job of showing that, showing the impact of it. That you think it's all fun and games to play the rebel, to play this until you actually have to take a life. So now they'll be more prepared. Looks like Cassian was right. They were not prepared for this, and they probably shouldn't have done this. And they don't understand what's really going on, and they don't understand who's getting played here. He saw it, but the greater rebellion is not seeing it. Uh, we flip back to Coruscant, and they're in this fantastic party. Mamathma is a distraction. Luthen and his associate are going about their business of getting in, using their inside men to help them out and get them to the point that they can actually get to that bug. And that is a very high tense moment, and like the whole idea that you have to mess with this artifact while everybody else is still in the room. Luckily for them, it's supposed to be an artifact of a world that is all blind and communicates via the touch. So the stone they have to feel and to feel the language that's there for the blind and the deaf. Now, getting into the item and then have to get this jammed bug out of it, and you see her hand starting to bleed. That's how hard she is trying to force it out without making a sound and without creating a stir, and then be questioned about it later on of what they were doing around this item. Definitely set up for the super suspenseful moment, and having this very tense moment, this very tense feeling of, well, are they going to make it out? Are they going to get caught? How can they get out of this one? Definitely a spycraft set of 3 episodes. Uh, but the most important thing is at the end of all of these episodes, we get Binks and Cassian sneaking into a place that they shouldn't be and taking out the very person that messed up Binks to begin with. Going in and putting him in his own torture device is the only way that Caspian can help her and bring her out of the problem that she's in. I think that is the scene that puts Caspian on the pathway that we get him to Rogue One and we get to see that moment. Not a whole lot happens in this, not a whole lot progresses. This rebellion is still very far apart. So, I think in the next 3 episodes, you're gonna see the outcome of Gorman, and you're gonna see this event that sets the rebellion onto a stronger ground, but at the same point sets the empire into more of this deep, dark, evil control of the people, which is going to drive more people into the rebellion and create more of a situation that it's going to kick off. There is one thing that I have not talked about yet. That is, of course, the crazy scenes with a certain space pirate that is out there in the greater universe. We see him in Rogue One, and he's kind of this crazy guy that's leading a bunch of pirates and has some information, and he's out there to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And that is Saul Guerrera. Saul Guerrera is kind of with his pirate group, but also doing a rebellion kind of thing. We know he is one of the rebel fractions that are out there. But the point that we get to him in Rogue One, he's on the outs, and the rest of the rebellion does not want anything to have to do with him. But instead, right now, Luthen's network of rebel spies are getting sent out there to help him out, specifically a bomb maker. And in the end, you have the bomb maker sweating it like he's going to be killed off. Like he's expected to be the spy. But instead, the one that was supposed to actually build the bomb for Saul is the spy, is the one that is feeding information to the Empire on Saul and his little fraction, and ends up being the one that gets killed off. And then they have the kid bomb maker actually go and set up the bomb and hack in to be able to actually get the fuel that they need. But you see a very twisted scene of Saul actually kind of torturing this kid and pulling his mask off and making him actually breathe in this toxic fumes. This is the thing that actually has messed up Saul. And it's kind of a drug, but at the same point is going to destroy your body. When we see him in Rogue One, he's about basically dead and he's more machine than he is human. Right now, he's still more human than he is machine. So we're getting to that point quickly. I want to see if we get more of him in the next set of 3. And if we really get this rebellion kicked off. So put it in the comments. Tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling. How has it been going? Do you think this is a drag? Do you think it's good? I think it's been decent, but I also like a little bit of spy thriller. So I'm a James Bond lover myself. I like that idea of something building up and something a little bit more subterfuge. It's quiet, it's not loud and explosive. It's not a whole lot of action. It's a lot of talking. A lot of talking in these 3 episodes. But it's progressing the story. You could call it filler, but I feel like you have filler within these set of 3. And these set of 3 need to actually set up what's going on. So let's see if the third week of Andor is going to actually be BBY 2, or do we got to jump ahead further, or is it going to be a shorter jump span? Because we are racing to when Andor is going to be meeting up and taking part in everything with Rogue One. Again, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Pull that seat up to the table, and we'll catch you for the next episode of Andor.